Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Ken. Welcome, everybody, to the Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call. I'm Josh Taylor, in tonight for Bob Pompiani. He is on vacation. Joining me in studio from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is Gene Collier. Gene, we are at the AllStar Break. 42-47 is the Pirates' record where it sits currently. And the big question that going into the AllStar Break was, first of all, what the Pirates would have to fix in order to even be able to contend for a shot at the division. But the next question will probably be, what would you expect this division to look like in the second half of the season? Right now, Milwaukee's the only team above 500. The Cubs and the Cardinals currently tied for second place. I believe a game and a half ahead of the Pirates. But how does the rest of this division shake out for you, besides the Pirates, where they stand?
I think the Brewers, Josh, are playing, the only team in the division playing at or above their level. Everyone else certainly at or below. I still think in the long run, the Cubs are the best team in the division. They certainly didn't look like it this past weekend. And they have a lot of things to sort out, but they have more solutions than all the other teams. So I think toward the end, you'll see the Cubs emerge in that division again. I noticed on the Bovada site today, the betting engine Bovada, they post odds. Odds within the division to win the World Series, the Cubs were 8-1. It's still far above everyone else. I think the Brewers were 25-1, the Cardinals 50-1. The Pirates 100-1 and the Reds 500.
And that was just to win the World Series?
Just talking about winning the World Series.
Wow, well, I guess that's not that hard to believe, since the Cubs were considered by many to be a preseason favorite, and they're the defending world champions, so of course there's that too. From the Brewers standpoint, the Brewers actually do impress me just by the way they've been able to score runs at such an amazing clip, the way they've done it with a lot of hitters, and they've done it with not so huge names. A guy like Eric Thames that they got from playing baseball over in Korea, brought him back over, and he had kind of journeyed and labored through the minors and had a couple of cups of coffee, but never could really stick around. He goes to Korea and then comes back and becomes a big contributor for that team. Travis Shaw, a guy who was one of 4 players they got in the trade in the offseason from Boston. I believe they sent a reliever to Boston, and he was one of 4 guys they got back. He's been huge. Keon Broxton has stepped up well for them, former Pirate, by the way, who was in the Jason Rogers trade, and Jason Rogers has since been sent packing from the Pirates organization. So Milwaukee has a bunch of guys that are stepping up and producing runs, and now we hear that they could be in the market for pitching as well. They're kicking the tires on guys like Sonny Gray, so they become a team that may become more scary if they decide to upgrade. St. Louis is a team that I'm keeping an eye on. I know a lot of people are looking at the Cubs. St. Louis is a team that is always in position to add more pieces. They're always in position to get better. They love to bring guys up that are rookies and contribute. They brought this kid Voit up who's hit, I think, 3 or 4 home runs already in a week and a half. So they have guys in that system, that pipeline. They just churn them through. And they become a team that I think becomes dangerous too, because if they can get their hands on a couple extra bats, we've heard them being rumored in talks with the Toronto Blue Jays about Josh Donaldson, former American League MVP, and he's called the bringer of rain on Twitter for a reason. That guy can really hit. So if St. Louis gets a bat, maybe another arm, they become equally as dangerous. So when you hear those things about teams like Chicago and Milwaukee and St. Louis, then you bring them out to the Pirates and go, well, what could the Pirates do to get better? Or more importantly, maybe where do you start? Because we know there's a bunch of problems that this team needs to fix.
Yeah, I mean, the Pirates have problems, Josh.
Putting it simply, putting it mildly.
The Pirates have been really fortunate in that they've gotten to this point in the season using only 6 starting pitchers. And that is a really fortunate thing. You know, the Mets have used 12, the Reds have used 13, I think. Even the Brewers have used 8 or 9. So it still doesn't give me a lot of confidence in their pitching. I mean, I don't know what you're going to get when you send Garrett Cole out there. I have a little more faith in Ivan Nova, but not much. And everybody else is just kind of there. Jamison Tyone has done a great job under the circumstances, but you know, the Pirates could use a starting pitcher. They certainly could use something on offense. They certainly could use some bench help. You know, they have a lot of needs, more than the 3 teams in front of them.
I'd say, if anything, one of the bigger priorities before you even get to the rest of those, I'd like to see some help in the bullpen. I mean, I think they've already started the addition by subtraction of designating Antonio Bastardo for assignment, but I don't think it's enough. I think they need more work there, and they need it soon. And I'm starting to wonder with enough teams, there are a lot of teams out there, by the way, that need bullpen help. I mean, bullpen help might be the #1 priority among many teams that are trying to contend. So it's going to be even harder to try to come up with a package when that's something that's so high in demand. And we talk about this all the time. People think that the trade deadline and that the trade market is just in a vacuum every year. It's not the same every year. It depends on what teams are looking for. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of teams are looking for bullpen help. I imagine the Yankees will be looking for bullpen help. I imagine the Cubs and the Cardinals will be looking for bullpen help. Milwaukee will be looking for bullpen help and starters. So pitching is going to be the thing that probably is the hardest thing to come by because there's going to be such a high price for it. And if that's the case, it might be hard for the Pirates to just fix some of their smaller problems, much less the big ones. We're taking your phone calls. 412-575-2600 is the number for the Borders and Borders hotline. Also taking your tweets at Josh Taylor HD. Gene, I'm going to get to something else here because we got about a week or so until the deadline comes for the Steelers and Le'Veon Bell to come to a long-term contract agreement, or else he plays under the franchise tag and he would make $12.1 million under that tag. Now, I feel a lot more optimistic about it. Steelers have $15.5 million in cap room going into this season, so it's not like they're really pressed to have to try to move some things around and move pieces around to make this happen. I've tried to consider this and maybe a couple other guys that they have to work things out with. You figure Stephon Tuitt is going into his last year. Maybe they work out an extension for him before the season because they like to do that with guys they want to keep around. And then there's the whole Alejandro Villanueva situation. That's still kind of hanging over their heads. It's kind of the elephant in the room. I think that's more of the elephant in the room than the Le'Veon Bell situation is. That kind of hangs in the balance as well. But what are your feelings about that being able to get done before the deadline?
Well, all of those things certainly aren't going to get done. I mean, they have they have some wiggle room there with Bell because they can always franchise him.
Right.
Who is going to get the balance of the money under the cap? That's why the Villanueva thing hasn't been done yet, and I'm trying to figure that out. Well,
what we'll do is we'll take your phone calls when we come back. 412-575-2600 is the number. Hang with us for a second. We'll be right back.
The Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by the Allegheny Health Network and by #1 Cochrane. Go one better.